You know what's actually interesting about people with extremely high IQs? They rarely look how we expect them to. Most people picture someone with a very high IQ as obviously impressive, constantly confident, solving problems out loud, making sure the room knows they're smart. But if you actually look at what psychology research has found after decades of studying these people, it's a completely different picture. Many of the behavioral patterns most commonly found in people with extremely high IQs don't look like intelligence at all. Some of them actually look like the opposite. And that's the interesting part. A very high IQ doesn't just make a person smarter, it changes the entire way they process the world. Here are the traits that research consistently finds. First, they spend a lot of time alone. Not because they dislike people, because their brains are constantly processing. When you're thinking that intensely, other people's energy becomes a cost. Conversations, social cues, managing the room, that's all processing. So solitude isn't loneliness for these people. It's necessary. It's where their brain actually functions best. Research has shown that highly intelligent people report lower life satisfaction from frequent social interaction. Not because they're antisocial, because their brain doesn't recharge the way most brains do. They recharge from quiet, from stillness. Second, their minds never fully switch off. The thinking doesn't stop. Not at night, not during activities that most people find relaxing. There's always something running in the background, a problem they're turning over, a conversation they're revisiting, mental simulations for things that haven't even happened yet. Their brain makes connections across huge networks of ideas all at the same time. That constant connectivity is what makes rest difficult. But the brain isn't malfunctioning. It's just operating at a different frequency than most people's. Third, they feel things more deeply than they show. This surprises people. We assume high intelligence comes with emotional detachment, but that's backwards. Highly intelligent people actually feel things with greater intensity, not less. They're acutely sensitive to beauty, to injustice, to the suffering of others. But they're also usually good at not showing it, so the intensity stays invisible. Fourth, they're comfortable saying, "I don't know." This one actually contradicts what people expect. We assume high intelligence means high confidence, but it's the opposite. When you understand complexity deeply enough, you see how much remains uncertain. You understand what you don't know. So when a high IQ person says, "I don't know," they're not hesitating. They're being precise. The person who holds every opinion with absolute certainty is almost never the smartest person in the room. Fifth, they struggle to find people who think at their level. Not because they believe they're superior, because conversations that don't go deep enough leave them feeling unstimulated. They're looking for someone who can follow them to the bottom of an idea without needing to turn back. The result is they sometimes appear aloof, not because they lack social ability, but because they've learned that most conversations aren't built to hold the depth they need. So they hold back. They calibrate themselves down. And a lot of who they actually are never enters the room. Sixth, they change their minds when the evidence changes. They treat beliefs as working theories, not fixed identities. When new information contradicts what they previously believed, their brain updates the model. They don't experience changing their mind as a threat. They experience it as accuracy. From the outside, this can look like inconsistency. But what's actually happening is a continuous honest update process. Seventh, they observe far more than they say. In group settings, highly intelligent people often default to watching before speaking. They listen to what isn't being said. They pick up on patterns most people miss, who defers to whom, where the real tension is, what the conversation is actually about beneath the surface. This creates a frustrating misread. The quiet observing person is assumed to have the least to contribute. In reality, they often have the most complete picture of what's happening. Eighth, they procrastinate hardest on the work that matters most. The projects with the most personal meaning are frequently the hardest to begin. Why? Because before they start, their brain comprehends the full scope of what excellent would require. Every flaw the finished product might contain. Every way it could fall short of the internal standard they already clearly see. It's not laziness, it's the opposite. It's too much care. The work that never starts is almost always the work that matters the most. Ninth, they get bored faster than almost anyone. Their brain habituates quickly. The stimulus that satisfied yesterday doesn't satisfy at the same level today. So they pursue multiple interests, change careers, find themselves restless in situations that from the outside look perfectly comfortable. 10th, they question themselves more than anyone would expect. Not performative humility. Genuine recurring doubt about whether their thinking is reliable. This directly connects to their intelligence, not opposed to it. The deeper your understanding, the more clearly you see how much remains uncertain. And 11th, they carry a quiet sense of not quite belonging. A subtle, ongoing awareness of being slightly out of sync. Not dramatic alienation. Just existing at a different level of resolution than most people around them. When your brain processes more, connects more, feels more intensely, and requires more depth than the environment offers, a mild sense of displacement is almost inevitable. What's interesting about all of these traits is how consistently they're misread. The person who needs solitude looks antisocial. The one who doubts themselves looks uncertain. The one who doesn't quite fit looks difficult. But sometimes, what looks like a collection of quiet difficulties is actually a mind built to process more and connect deeper than the environments it moves through every day.